Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's video. It is Wednesday, the 15th of May, 2024. Bitcoin still not doing anything, but we'll have a look at it anyway. And then at least you know the good information for when any move does happen. So let's start off here on the daily time frame. As always, Bitcoin, as we know, had the move down. Deviation below the bottom of the range a couple of weeks ago. Bouncing off of our yearly anchored VWAP before a very nice move back up, which took out the highs from the start of that move. Since then, we've seen a decent pullback. Okay, just consolidating here around monthly open. Nice pop-up that came up back into the POC of the range. Rejected once again, filling in the imbalances. One of those inside days yesterday where it was just trading within the range of the previous day. Not quite an engulfing candle, not bullish, not bearish, just very, very neutral. And then we're seeing another situation today where we may be getting yet another inside day as we just trade within the previous day's range here. Now, when you look at this, it's pretty neutral overall. But for myself, you will know that I am leaning bullish. So as long as we're holding around this monthly open and at the same time this weekly open, so we do have the weekly open, of course, right here on the charts where we had the move up on the Monday, came back, corrected it on the Tuesday, but no closes below there yet. It's all just settling here, the same as where we settled on the monthly open after the move up, settling there. We're doing the same thing here on the weekly open, so just gradually stepping up. And that, to me, if we do continue this with obviously holding, then we can be expecting a breakthrough this POC sometime, maybe within the next couple of days. I was thinking that, like, let's get PPI, CPI out the way, and let's see that we get a move on the Thursday and Friday this week, which could send us up towards that 64K. That's still probably my thinking right now. And as long as we are holding weekly open, that will remain my thinking. The other thing that we're doing right now here is just squeezed. We are sandwiched in between the 100 EMA, which is the yellow line, and the 50 EMA on the daily, which is the blue line here, both of which offering both support or resistance. And depending on which side breaks first, you would expect some kind of quite expansive move to happen. For like, okay, let's say we break above. I'm very confident here. If we get back through 63, 64, this will very quickly move up towards 69. So it's one of those situations where if you're bullish here, it's good to start to get positioned, because I think once it does break, it's not going to stop. I think it's going to squeeze quite hard. Now, if we do break down, I think it's going to be a bit more of a grinding type of price action. And then we'd obviously have to be looking down towards the 200 EMA, which was a target previously, which is coming in just below the lows that we put in a couple of weeks ago here. So back down towards that like 54 to 56K zone if this does start to break down. So either looking at quite an explosive move up or a grind that just starts to accelerate, and then you get once again another capitulation here, similar to what we saw at the beginning of the month. If we look on the 4-hour time frame, once again, you can see here it is just this like continuous consolidation. The 200 on the 4-hour actually acting as some quite important resistance right now. When you do go anchored VWAP from these highs, this has also been weighing price down. Yeah, so you got to flip these levels. You got to flip that 63 to 64K area in which to start to get that momentum that could then see a short squeeze higher. Going on to our lower time frame charts here, where we take a look on the Woo charts. You can see yesterday we had extremely choppy price action. So this was during PPI yesterday. There's obviously CPI today, and that will likely cause some more volatility. But we have some news wicks here. All right, so price looks as if it's going to be coming up and taking this high. Now, do be aware that it seems to keep front running everything at the moment. So a couple of days ago, we were looking at this high being taken. It didn't happen. And then you get the pullback, and it's a similar situation here. Okay, you've come up and very, very nearly taken that wick high. But, yeah, it may just roll back down and come back down into the open again here. We don't know. It's that kind of price action right now, which just isn't giving very clear setups in either direction. But I would say if we do come and sweep that high, that looks like a good opportunity for a short position to take us back into value here, back down into the range, and then once again expecting some choppy price action as we do have more news coming out later on. So yeah, with other levels and everything, there's nothing really too significant that we can be trading off of. I'm just looking at liquidity. So you have liquidity up here. And then if this does continue to expand, then you've got this big single print. So that takes you up to 62,650 roughly. And that will fill these single prints. And then we could be looking for a retrace from there. If we turn on our TPO, I did just try and do it from the indicator, but if we turn it on this way, will it work? There we go. Once again, you can see it's all very balanced locally. So we had this double distribution on Monday, where we had some time spent. Well, we had it on Friday last week. All right, so we had volume up at the highs, volume down at the lows. Spent the weekend forming value down here. Then what happens? You have expansion up, and it comes to the next area value. Then the next day, you're starting to fill in this space in the middle, and you just basically these two little areas where there's decent value been formed, and then price starting to fill out this middle section before we see either a break up or a breakdown from here. But no MPOCs, no single prints left on the chart. We would have to be looking significantly lower or significantly higher from here to find the next imbalances on this chart. So when we had that move down, that did correct a lot of the single prints, and this was just a time POC. The volume POC was higher, so not really any imbalance or any inefficiency below, but very clearly, okay, you've got levels above that you can start to be looking at from previous points of control, big gaps on the chart that have formed above where our current price action is. So that does lead you to think that, well, this kind of goes back to my own bias that I do believe that once we've spent enough time here, and if we do just continue to chop around and just frustrate people, a move up is still looking more likely for myself. But I've said this previously, if we do lose weekly open, certainly if we lose that monthly open again after it's spent so long down here, then that would be quite bearish, and I would be expecting these lows to be taken, which we don't want to see. All right, there's already enough pain within this market. Personally, I don't feel that a move back down towards these lows here is going to be particularly healthy. That would likely lead to another long consolidation, as that would be more damage done to the market. And the reason why I think that is because everything with the order flow is suggesting that this is got the characteristics there that we can squeeze. It's just low volume chop before the reversal. I've explained this before that what we've seen previously on these highs were like every spike up got retraced very quickly. Okay, you keep having these moves up that will retrace very quickly, and on this occasion it's like every move down is getting that quick retrace. Yeah, so it's not really the moves up are getting a more of a slow corrective move, but then these moves down are quickly being recovered. And this is quite typical of where you see the distribution up at the highs, you come down, you take out the lows, and then you're seeing a reaccumulation, and then you get that continuation afterwards. So that would be continuation on towards 100K. So for me, whether you're buying spot here or down here or waiting for down here, to me it just doesn't make sense to be waiting for lower. If you're expecting price to be going up within the next few months, then absolutely this is a good time to be accumulating, to be DCAing in. But the way that you can have more confidence in that, and this is certainly goes for a lot of the altcoins, we'll go back onto this chart over here, the way that you can have some real confidence is if this does get a move up with some decent volume, break that 63 to 64, that's your trigger to go all in and be looking for a big move up there. I would be very surprised if we get another fake out that takes us to do something like this. It just doesn't make sense. You don't see that kind of thing very often. I think if it starts moving on this occasion, very similar to what happened down here, right? Once it starts moving, it's not going to stop and it's not going to give an entry. So I know I draw these lines to say, okay, once we've reclaimed that 63, 64, there's an opportunity to get in. But in reality, you'll probably see something like this. All right. And it's just not going to pull back, which is why if you're not exposed already, it's going to be very difficult to get that exposure once this does start going. You got to have that risk that if it does break down here, then you're going to take a hit. But that's trading. There's always risk involved. Now, if we take things over onto these, we'll have a look online, the ETFs. Then, yeah, very, very quiet on the ETFs. So again, it's just typical of low volume chop before we see expansion again in one direction or another. I think up, but it could go down. We don't know for sure. But yeah, very low volume. You can see the volume on the ETFs is like getting to that point where it's almost non-existent. Flows are very, very small on both directions. You're getting small outflows on GBTC, small inflows on the rest of them. ARK was the only one that had like a major inflow yesterday. For whatever reason that was a massive, like, you'd have to go a long way back to see 2.1 thousand Bitcoin coming into that fund over there. So often it's the IBIT ones that were giving the big numbers, but now ARK is suddenly giving a big number that gave us net positive on the day here. The Hong Kong ETFs as well are pretty much neutral. All right, so you had that big inflow initially, and then since then it's just been chopping around on more or less neutral, so plus 60 Bitcoin yesterday, and the volume being fairly low over there as well. Funding rates are negative, or at least they were last time I checked, so let's just have a look. Funding rates across the board, pretty negative. All right, that does give a bit more of a bullish bias, and you can see that here if we're looking at the chart. Then you can see overall net negative across the board here on different exchanges. And what we're also seeing is some heavy selling, big negative delta coming on here, especially aggregated negative delta with a drop in open interest this morning. So we'll see what happens there. And I don't know why that open interest is looking like this, but there has been a drop in open interest this morning. So as we've seen, a lot of long positions just closing out. Right, so it's not really shorts opening because you're not seeing the increase in OI. It's just a lot of long positions closing out as we've got a bit of a rise up, obviously to come up towards these highs. Long positions closing up here, taking their profits, but going into negative funding. And overall, spot bid is holding relatively strong here. So if you look at the difference between the two, once again here, you can see perps lagging behind, whereas the spot bid is fairly strong, and that could lead us towards higher prices, at the very least to take out the high from yesterday's news. The rest of the market is looking pretty red. All right, the altcoins aren't liking this like volatility and lack of volatility because it's chopping around, but it's chopping around within a very narrow range, so it's not really giving any confidence either way, not giving much to trade off of. So the alts are just falling apart, like falling away. The likes of ENA getting like really, really bad price action going on with a lot of the altcoins, where it is literally just a case of like price is basically just doing this and not getting any kind of reaction from anything right now, and it will continue to do that until we know the direction of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts to break out, then we'll see some life again. If it breaks down, then help your altcoins. There's no saving the altcoins then. It's going to be another 30-40% dump from the alts if Bitcoin does choose the path down. So yeah, on that note, I will wrap it up there. We'll wait and see what happens here for the rest of the day. And have a great day. Trade safe. Don't lose your money because it's going to be going to 100K soon. So yeah, see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye-bye.